Hello everyone and welcome to Sinful Gaming. Hope you're all doing well, I hope you're all staying safe, and most of all, I hope you're all fighting that war against the Grey. Today's video, we're going to do a review of the Gorger Mawpack warband that has just come out for Warhammer Age of Sigmar Warcry. This has come out in the box set Hunter or Hunted alongside the Wild Corpse Rangers. We'll be doing a review on them later as well. But we're going to take a look at all of the different models that come inside this, all the different options we have for building these, and indeed all their different abilities. As we've got up on screen now, we have the reaction and the abilities. And we'll keep these up on screen when we're talking about the other units to draw back on as well. But for starters, let's look through all of this, and we have the reaction Rending Bite. This is pretty fun. As you might have seen in the battle report we put up, a fighter can make this reaction after targeted by a melee attack action from an enemy fighter but before the hit rolls are made. If none of those hit rolls from the attack action result in a critical hit, you can allocate 6 damage points to the attacking fighter. And this is interesting. First of all, it is a little bit of a gamble. You are pretty low defense on your Gorgers. Now, it should note that it is here if none of the hit rolls result in crits, meaning that some of the abilities that score crits on 5s will bypass this, meaning, you know, your opponent can go, well, you're doing that reaction, I'm going to do this. So there are ways to get around it, but 6 damage points being able to be allocated, especially on like low sort of dice rolling models. I'm thinking Stormcast Eternals, even, you know, some of the bigger hammer and more damaging things from Jade Obelisk and stuff like that with, you know, 2 or 3 attacks. This is worth a gamble really if you are going to take substantial damage. Now, moving over to their abilities. First of all, we have Bounding Leaps. This is one of 2 generic abilities available to every model in the Gorger Mawpack. Now, this is double. A fighter can only use this ability if there is a visible enemy fighter within 6 inch. They make a bonus move action and must finish closer or as close to as possible to the enemy fighter after the move action. This is pretty cool when we consider a lot of our Gorger fighters have pretty solid movement on them. They're going to be able to, you know, traverse the table, and 6 inch really with a standard move when your Gorgers are standard 5, it's going to get them in range for a melee attack, which is cool. Now, we then have Glimmer of Consciousness. This is an incredibly important ability for the Gorger Mawpack, as everyone bar your Clawback, the unit leader, has the Beast Rune mark, meaning they can't carry treasure. So until the start of the next battle round, the fighter is considered to not have the Beast Rune mark. So pretty cool. So if a fighter carrying treasure at the start of the next battle round will then gain it again, they drop the treasure. So you do have to use this double to be able to carry treasure with most of your fighters in the game. It's a little bit of an iffy, but the Gorgers do make up for it in their stat blocks, as we'll see in a sec. The double for our natural force until the start of the fighter's activation, you add 1 to damage for their hits and critical hits, is pretty solid. Agonizing Roar, stopping disengage actions, is always nice. They've got the general one we see on a lot of warbands now in Madden Blows, crits on 5s, and then Starving Rampage. This is our quad, and this is available to any of the Gorgers. Now, this is interesting because it actually gives them the Beast Rune mark. So if our Clawback decides to use this, our Clawback will gain the Beast Rune mark. If this fighter is carrying treasure, they automatically drop it. The fighter can make 1 bonus melee attack action for each visible enemy fighter within 1 inch of them. Each of those attack actions must target a different enemy fighter. So this is pretty cool. Essentially, if you are playing something and there's multiple fighters around you, which generally you are going to be outnumbered with the Gorger Mawpack, you can make an attack into each one of them for a quad, which is incredibly powerful. But with that said, that's all the abilities. So let's get looking at all the different fighters. We have 5 different fighters available to us for the Gorger Mawpack, excluding allies, but we won't look into them in this video. We'll have a getting started video coming out later in the week for that. Today's video is brought to you by Gap Games, a fantastic retailer in Australia for a variety of different miniature war games. If you'd like to help support the channel, we have an affiliate link where by clicking on and purchasing, you'll help support the channel, but you'll also help support Gap Games, which is a fantastic servant to the community. And so here we have our Gorger Mawpack's leader, the Clawback. 235 points, renowned, whatever you want to call it. He is decently expensive, but you do get a pretty solid power line. Now, we have 35 wounds, only defense 3. This is generally the big weakness I see of the Gorger Mawpack. Yes, they hit like trucks. They've got big, lots of wounds on every model, but defense 3 is as high as and as good as it gets for the Mawpack. So that is something to really consider. You are low models, high wounds, but low defense. Very similar to like ogres in actual Age of Sigmar, to be honest. Now, attacks wise, we've got a 1-inch range, and this is interesting. We actually have quite a bit of 1-inch range within the warband in general. There isn't a lot of 2-inch range attacks. 4 attacks though on this. Strength 5 is nice. A lot of our models are strength 4 at a minimum, and we got a lot of strength 5 and better. 3/6 on the damage is pretty solid as well. Nice sort of really powerful crit. And of course the rune mark here, we've got the leader rune mark. This means unnatural force for the bonus damage can take him for a double to 4/7 on his damage, which is pretty solid with 4 attacks. I think all in all the clawback is solid. He can rip through things pretty well. He takes advantage of the starving rampage really nicely with a decent amount of attacks, and bounding leaps is always good. Like I said, that movement 5 means you can get into combat if you're within 6, which is cool. Next up, we have the Cave Howler, and this, I would say, is our specialist for the warband. This is the most interesting one. As you can see, that beast rune mark there means we do need to use Glimmer of Consciousness to be able to carry treasure. But then we also have Agonizing Roar. Like I said, this is our specialist. Roll the dice for each enemy fighter within 6-inch. On a 4+ until the end of battle round, they can't make disengages. This is really cool because we are so high damage. Your opponent may not always want to attack us. They may want to try and shoot the Gorgers. Low defense means the Gorgers are susceptible to a lot of sort of shooting, mostly needing like 4s and stuff to wounds. They have 30 wounds apiece, movement 5 standard there for the rest of the Gorgers. It should be said all the rest of the Gorgers will have this same stat block: defense 3, 30 wounds, 5 movement. 1-inch range, but 5 attacks on him, 4 strength, and 3/6 on the damage again. So a little bit lower on the strength. I think the reason I take a Cave Howler here is because of Agonizing Roar for a triple. I think he's worth it on that. We'll talk in the next slide about someone I don't like the strength 4 on. And so next we have the Gorger. Now this is the standard Gorger. You can choose to build this model in there, though there's no actual need to build this. With the kit you can build all of them with the weapons, which I would almost always recommend. I think 180 renown is what you spend on this model. For me, that is pricey considering the next option is actually cheaper. Now, you do have 4 attacks at strength 4, 3/5 on the damage, so a decent amount, but against some of the high defense, this will just be a liability and just will not do anything. You know, if you come up against Stormcast, this guy is going to do nothing. Even, you know, other defense 5 pieces on the table that can get there, I'm thinking Iron Golems around the Signifier and stuff like that, can really just turn this guy completely off and make him 180 points renown of, you know, useless muscle, essentially. I don't rate this at all. He's only got the Beast Rune mark, so no other sort of special abilities coming out of him. For me, this is probably the only letdown in the warband. I don't really like the base Gorger at all. Now, on the other hand, we have the Gorger with Club, and this is what I would always build out of the Gorgers. And if you do find yourself, you know, running out of bits, which you shouldn't, the kit does contain enough bits to make all your Gorgers at least have clubs. So there is no need to build a standard Gorger. 175. He's 5 renown cheaper. I would take this every time over the standard Gorger. Yes, you drop an attack, but you can use Onslaught to get that attack back, and Strength 5 is just so much better. Like, that means against Quest of Soulsworn, you are the 4+. You are going to still get a decent amount of attacks out of him. 3/6 on the damage as well is definitely going up from the standard Gorger. 1-inch range, again, like I said, that is another weakness, I would say, of the Gorgers, is their short range. I only have 1-inch on everything except the last slide and the last character we'll look at. Same stat block, Beast Rune mark only. They're solid nonetheless, so I think this is a pretty decent fighter to have in your force. 175 renown for what you get here is pretty solid. And then lastly, we have the Gorger with Great Club, and you can see the last Rumark here, Destroyer Rumark, if I'm not mistaken. Madden blows, crits on 5s with this, which is really solid. He only has 2 attacks, but he does have a 2-inch range, which is something we don't get a lot of on the Gorgers. The Gorgers are actually on the big bases, so 2-inch range is going to be useful. This can definitely help, if opponents are maybe hiding in small pieces of terrain your Gorger can't get. Strength 6 though is insane. Like, this guy will pack out damage, and things like that can boost his attack, so your basic sort of onslaught for the extra attack, or even rampage getting extra activation and attack there is nice. 4-8 on the damage, especially when you consider that can go to crits on 5s. This guy can pack an absolute punch. For 185, he's 5 for now more than the base Gorger. Like, once again, that base Gorger, I'd either spend 5 less and get something better anyway, or spend 5 more and get something better anyway. So I don't see a world in which you play with regular Gorgers for me. I think it is always taking one of these 2 options, either going for the fewest hits, but the biggest power, or going for the strength 5, which will get the same amount of attacks with an onslaught. I don't think 6 attacks at strength 4 matters against some of the warbands in the game now. But that is everything we have for the Gorger Mawpack. Just 5 different models. You get 5 models in the box set, it should be said. Like I said, as well, you don't have to build any of the standard ones. You can build them all with clubs. You get 1 with Great Club. You get 1 lot of stuff for a clawback, and you get 1 Cave Howler in the box as well. What do you think of the Gorger Mawpack though? And if you'd like to see us put them up against warbands as well, let us know your thoughts and what games you want to see played with them down in the comments below. And that's the end of the video. We hope you all enjoyed it. If you did, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel, and also drop a comment down below letting us know what you thought about the video. If you'd like to come chat more with me and other members of our fine little community here at Sinful Gaming, we have a Discord server linked down in the video's description. Also linked down in the video's description are the best ways to help support the channel. You can use one of our affiliate links to Gap Games or Element Games if you're in Australia or the United Kingdom, or you can subscribe to our YouTube members or Patreon, or grab some merch from our merch stores on Teespring or Ko-fi. All the best ways to help support the channel. As a special thanks to all our Patreon and YouTube members, we'd like to give them all a shout out. So thank you to our Patrons: Broken Chef, Andy C, Grimskull, Colorblind Magic, Benjamin Swallows, James Cater, Mark Harvey, Domir, Average Wargamer, JJ Austrian, Cure Dynamic, Andrew Bowen, Outer and Shot First, Kenny Lowell and Soren. And to our YouTube members: Green Roots Gaming, Ronya, Lock Lorick, The Johnny84, Broken Chef, Ariana Edwards, Monty's Tabletop Terrain, James Tillman, Disco, John Castle and Gargamel196. Thank you all once again for watching. Like, subscribe, comment down below. Stay safe everyone, stay well, and most of all, keep fighting that war against the grey. Ciao for now.